year was 1600, and England was a nation teetering on the brink of ambition and exploration. The Elizabethan era had instilled in its people a fervent desire for discovery, wealth, and global influence. Amidst this burgeoning zeal, the British East India Company was established by royal charter, marking the beginning of a significant chapter in the annals of history, the British colonization. From its modest inception, the company sought to expand its commercial horizons, initially focusing on the rich spice trade of the East Indies. However, it soon set its sights on a far more alluring prize: India, with its vast resources, diverse cultures, and ancient civilizations. This land, with its rich tapestry of history and wealth, promised untold riches to those daring enough to claim them. The British arrival in India was marked by cautious diplomacy and strategic alliances. Early on, they established trading posts in Surat, Bombay, and Calcutta, negotiating with local rulers who were often embroiled in their own power struggles. The Mughal Empire, then at the height of its glory, viewed the British as minor players in the grand tapestry of Indian politics and trade. Yet the British East India Company, with its shrewd leaders and relentless ambition, slowly began to weave itself into the fabric of Indian society. The decline of the Mughal Empire, coupled with internal strife among Indian kingdoms, provided the company with an opportunity to expand its influence. By the mid-18th century, the company had transformed from a mere trading entity into a formidable military and political force. The Battle of Plassey in 1757 was a turning point, a clash that would echo through the corridors of history. Led by Robert Clive, the British forces defeated the Nawab of Bengal and his French allies, securing a decisive victory that laid the foundation for British dominance in India. This battle was not just a military triumph, but a masterstroke of political manipulation and betrayal, exemplified by the treachery of Mir Jafar, a key commander who defected to the British side. With Bengal under British control, the company began to extend its reach, employing a mix of diplomacy, coercion, and outright warfare. The doctrine of lapse, introduced by Lord Dalhousie, allowed the British to annex any princely state where the ruler died without a direct heir. This policy, viewed as highly controversial and often unjust, further expanded British territories and solidified their grip on the Indian subcontinent. The British administration in India was a complex and multifaceted system, blending elements of traditional Indian governance with British legal and administrative practices. The introduction of the English language and Western education aimed to create a class of Anglicized Indians who would serve as intermediaries between the rulers and the ruled. Infrastructure projects, such as the construction of railways, telegraphs, and canals, were undertaken to facilitate the efficient extraction of resources and the movement of goods. While these developments did contribute to India's modernization, they were primarily designed to serve British economic interests. The social fabric of India was also profoundly affected. The British introduced new legal systems, land revenue policies, and social reforms that often clashed with traditional customs and practices. The abolition of practices like sati and the introduction of widow remarriage were significant social changes, albeit with mixed receptions among the Indian populace. Beneath the surface of British administrative efficiency and economic prosperity, a simmering discontent brewed among the Indian people. The exploitative economic policies, racial discrimination, and cultural insensitivity of the British rulers fostered a growing sense of resentment and nationalism. The Revolt of 1857, also known as the First War of Indian Independence, was a manifestation of this burgeoning anger. Sparked by a combination of military grievances, economic hardships, and cultural insensitivities, the rebellion saw soldiers, peasants, and princes rising against British rule. Though ultimately suppressed, the revolt sent shockwaves through the British establishment and led to significant changes in colonial governance. In the aftermath, the British Crown assumed direct control of India, ending the era of company rule. The new British Raj sought to quell dissent by co-opting Indian elites into the administration and implementing a series of reforms. However, the fundamental dynamics of exploitation and dominance remained unchanged. The early 20th century witnessed the rise of a more organized and determined Indian independence movement. Leaders like Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, and Subhas Chandra Bose emerged as prominent figures, each advocating different strategies to achieve the common goal of freedom. Gandhi's philosophy of nonviolent resistance, or satyagraha, mobilized millions of Indians from diverse backgrounds. The Salt March of 1930, a 240-mile protest against the British salt monopoly, became a symbol of the Indian struggle for independence. The Indian National Congress, under Gandhi's leadership, transformed from a primarily elitist organization into a mass movement representing the aspirations of ordinary Indians. World War II further weakened British control over India. The economic strain of the war, coupled with the intensifying demand for independence, made British rule increasingly untenable. The Quit India movement of 1942, despite being brutally suppressed, demonstrated the Indian people's resolve to achieve self-rule. By the mid-1940s, the British Empire was in decline. The Labour government in Britain, faced with economic hardships and international pressure, realized that maintaining control over India was no longer feasible. The naval mutiny of 1946 and widespread communal violence added to the urgency of finding a solution. In 1947, the British government announced its intention to transfer power to Indian hands. However, the process was marred by religious and political divisions, leading to the partition of India and Pakistan. The partition resulted in one of the largest and most tragic mass migrations in history, with millions of Hindus, Muslims, and Sikhs crossing borders amid communal violence and upheaval. On August 15, 1947, India achieved independence. The Union Jack was lowered, and the tricolor of India was hoisted, marking the end of nearly 2 centuries of British colonial rule. While independence was a moment of triumph, it was also tinged with the sorrow of partition and the immense challenges that lay ahead for the newly formed nations of India and Pakistan. The legacy of British colonization in India is a complex and multifaceted tapestry of achievements, challenges, and enduring impacts. On one hand, British rule left behind a legacy of political and legal institutions, infrastructure, and the English language, which continue to play significant roles in modern India. The introduction of democratic principles and the rule of law laid the groundwork for India's post-independence political development. However, the economic exploitation and social disruptions caused by colonial policies have had lasting repercussions. The drain of wealth from India to Britain, the impact of famines exacerbated by colonial mismanagement, and the deepening of religious and caste divisions are enduring scars of the colonial era. Moreover, the partition of India and Pakistan has left a legacy of conflict and tension that persists to this day. The communal violence that accompanied partition sowed seeds of mistrust and animosity that have influenced the geopolitical landscape of South Asia for decades. As India continues to evolve as a nation, the colonial past remains a subject of reflection and critical analysis. Efforts to reclaim and celebrate indigenous cultures, languages, and traditions are an integral part of the nation's journey towards healing and reconciliation. The narrative of British colonization is also being reassessed in the context of global history. It serves as a reminder of the complexities and consequences of imperialism, prompting nations to strive for a more equitable and just world order. In conclusion, the story of British colonization is not merely a tale of conquest and domination. It is also a testament to the resilience, adaptability, and enduring spirit of the Indian people. From the ashes of colonial rule, India has emerged as a vibrant and diverse democracy, charting its own path in the 21st century. The lessons of the past continue to shape the aspirations and endeavors of the present, guiding the nation towards a future rooted in the principles of justice, equality, and freedom.